So, welcome to KEMAR's CSEC Resources. In today's video, we will be doing economics for CSEC, and today's topic will be unemployment, as you can see on the screen. So, let's go. As we have here, definition for unemployment. Now, it states that unemployment is any person who is actively seeking a job, which is employment, and is willing and able to work but is unable to find a job. So unemployment is simply a person who is, so they're actively seeking. What are they seeking? They're seeking employment, they're seeking a job. And this person is willing and is able to work, but they are unable to find a job. Now we have something called the unemployment rate, and it states that the unemployment rate is the number of persons who are unemployed, who are without a job, which is measured as a percentage of the labor force. Right? So we have the formula here. Unemployment rate is equal to the number of persons employed over the labor force times 100. And as you can see the arrow here reminding us that the labor force is the number of persons who are of the age and is willing and able to work. So a person who has met the required age based on the country requirements of the age, and the person is willing and able to work, that is noted as the labor force. So we have the different types of unemployment, right? And the types of unemployment is the same as the causes of unemployment. Now, there are many potential causes of unemployment. These causes can be explained by examining the various types of unemployment. So we have what we call the frictional unemployment, we have the surge unemployment, we have the seasonal unemployment, we have structural unemployment, we have the cyclical unemployment, and we also have the real wage unemployment. So we'll be looking at each of them individually. So the first type of unemployment that you can see here on the screen is the frictional unemployment, and frictional unemployment is also known as the transitional unemployment. It's the same thing. Frictional unemployment is the same as transitional unemployment. Now it states that the frictional unemployment are occupationally or geographically immobile. When we hear about the word immobile, it means that it's fixed, it cannot move. Though there are jobs available, these unemployed do not have the skills to match the jobs, or they are unwilling or unable to move to the part of the country where the job is. As we were saying earlier, frictional unemployment, you have the occupationally or the geographic immobile. So based on where the job is in the country, the person may be unwilling or unable to move, so they are immobile, right? No, therefore they remain unemployed. Also considered to be frictionally unemployed are those persons who are in between jobs. The persons changing from one job to the other based on whatever reasons they have, right? This also causes this type of unemployment. They can't just switch from one job to the other. You have to have the necessary requirements, the qualifications, etc. It takes a process for them to change. You don't just reach into another job just like that. Now, another definition here states that frictional unemployment is transitional unemployment that occurs when people change jobs due to the time delay between leaving a job and finding or starting a new one. As I said earlier, persons who are in between jobs. Therefore, frictional unemployment always exists in the economy because it takes time for the labor market to match available jobs with the people who are looking for the jobs, as we spoke earlier about the requirements, right? So this is a frictional slash transitional unemployment. We said frictional unemployed, those persons can be occupationally or they are geographically immobile. Geographically has to speak with place, it has to speak with location. Occupation has to do with the type of job, right? All jobs are different and unique in each way. They all have different qualifications in some way or the other. Now, the next type of unemployment is the search unemployment. When we think of the word search, we think about looking, right? Looking for something. So it states that the search unemployment occurs when someone who is unemployed does not take the first job that he or she is offered. The unemployed person opts to search for a better paying or more suitable job. So this is simply saying that, for example, persons who are just coming out of college, normally they have their qualifications, etc. So sometimes they go to one job and they think that the job is not offering what they have, or they're just trying out the job to see. So they search and they move from one job to the other, whether it's based on the pay rate, right, or based on what they love or what they prefer. So for the search unemployment, it occurs when someone who is unemployed does not take the first job. So it's like you have options. So you don't take the first job that he or she is being offered, but the unemployed person opts to search for a better paid or more suitable job. So there's a job out there, ready and waiting for you, but you opt to search for a better job that is more suitable. Next, we have the seasonal unemployment. Now, when we think about seasonal unemployment, we think about what comes to mind. We think about the seasons, we think about the different times, right? Now, it states that some workers only have jobs at certain times of the year, and which is true. Not all persons work permanent or right through the year, certain times of the year. Now, when there is a demand for certain products or when a particular crop might be in season, that is true. Now, the workers employed in that industry might be seasonally employed, and then for the rest of the year, the worker remains unemployed. Now, workers involved in constructing carnival costumes, that's a good example. Carnival costumes might only be employed in the few months prior to the festival, right? So we know that we only have carnival in the Caribbean at a certain time of year. So that labor, the persons who make the costumes, they're not required for the entire year. They don't have a steady income. Only during the carnival season they have that job where they earn their income. Also, workers involved in tourism and agriculture. Tourism and agriculture might also be seasonally employed, which is true because when you look at it, we have the crops. We just don't harvest and reap the crops right through the year. The crops grow, and at a certain season, at the time we reap and we sell it, right? Some crops only grow during the summer season or during the winter season, depending on the weather and the climate. So those workers who pick those products off the trees and from the plants, reap them and all of that, they're only needed at a certain time. For example, fruit pickers are in high demand during the summer months, while retailers tend to hire more temporary workers during the Christmas season, which is the busiest time of the year for most retailers. Right, for example, for during the holidays and etc. It's seasonal, they only have a job at a certain time of the year during a specific season. Now we have the structural unemployment, right? Now we say that the structural unemployment occurs when there is a change in structure. Change in structure of an industry. So when we say structure, they change the way in which they produce the goods or services, right? They change structure also deal with how things are put in place in the industry in terms of production. Now, as a result of this, workers become unemployed, and these are two reasons or two causes. Now, improvement in technology, we say this one on a high rise. Now this enables capital to replace labor, right? Technology, we think about machines, etc. Right? This type of structural unemployment is also called the technological. So another word for structural is also technological unemployment. For example, supermarkets introducing self-checkout. So normally in supermarkets we have the cashiers who scan the products and tell you the price and all of that. Now in the modern era we have the self-checkout where you scan the stuff yourself and you hear the device talking back to you and all of that. So technology is now improving and it is replacing the labor, right? So with the technology, that's a change in structure. Also, certain workers may not be required because these persons will need to have the necessary skills and qualification as it relates to how to work, how to manipulate these technology, right? So for example, gone in the days where they used to use the typewriters, now we're using the laptops and all of those stuff. Now you have to be most them in for various jobs. The labors are required to be technological or computer literate, right? You have to know how to use the computer and the simple softwares that are there. Also, the technological process can also make the products of an industry obsolete and it can also cause the demand to fall. So, it structural unemployment has to do with the change in which goods and services are being produced by the who? The employees, right? The persons who are being employed to produce these goods and services. And based on the change of structure, the demand for these workers will fall, it will reduce, it will decline. They will no longer be needed. And we have the perfect example with the technology. We also have cyclical, or some persons call it the cyclical unemployment, which is also the same as the demand deficient unemployment. No, it states that it's a severe type of unemployment, right? Severe type of unemployment because it can affect every industry in the economy. Now, it is caused by the lack of aggregate demand, which causes a fall in national income. Now, consumption might fall, right? Investment of firms might fall, the government expenditure might fall, or there might be a fall in foreigners' demand for export. Now, when aggregate demand falls, the firms in the economy reduces the output. So as the output is being reduced now, firms will employ less of all factors of production, and we did say that factors of production is land, labor, capital, enterprise or entrepreneurship. So as the output is being reduced, firms will employ less of factors of production including labor, and this will result in unemployment. Now, for example, during the pandemic, economic activity worldwide decreased, leading for many companies laying off their employees to reduce production costs. And this one is very evident as we are going through these times. We all have an idea of what it's saying here. So during the pandemic, certain goods and services weren't demanded much by consumers. Now, if it's not being demanded by consumers, hence the firm needs to produce less of these goods and services. When they produce less of these goods and services, they will need less labor in doing so. They won't need, so if a firm had 100 labor and now the demand for these products have declined, well, we don't need a 100 labor anymore. We might only need 20 or we need 50, right? So hence we have to send home employees and say, hey, we cannot compensate you anymore due to that. And then the firms will try to reduce the cost of production, the production cost. And we did say that production cost, we did this in previous chapter. Production cost is the cost incurred for producing goods and services. Right? We also have the real wage unemployment, which is also known as the classical unemployment. Classical. Now, this occurs when trade unions, we learned this in the other chapter as well. Trade unions succeed in raising the wage rate above the equilibrium level. Now, at a wage above the equilibrium level, supply of labor exceeds the demand for labor. Hence, surplus of labor is unemployed. Let's go again. This occurs, real wage unemployment occurs when trade unions are the persons who talk on behalf of that specific labor force. So, for example, for the teachers, they have their own trade union. So, for example, in Jamaica, right, the teachers, their trade union is JTA, Jamaica Teachers Association. So, it's a set of governed body that is there that they speak on behalf of the teachers who are members of that trade union. So, real wage unemployment occurs when trade unions succeed in raising the wage rate above the equilibrium level. Now, at a wage above the equilibrium level, supply of labor exceeds the demand, right? So basically, if we were to write this, it would have been supply of labor, SL, exceeds, which is greater than the demand for labor. Hence, this is what causes a surplus. Right? So, 100 labor is being supplied. Hence, right? 100 is being supplied. But how many laborers are being demanded? Let's say 30 laborers are being demanded. Now, how much would you have left? 70, right? 70. That 70 laborers that we do not need will become the excess, which will be the surplus. Now, that surplus will become the unemployed. Now, the real wage unemployment also occurs when the real wage rates are set above the market clearing level, such as in the case of a national minimum wage. Now, this leads to the excess supply of labor, which we call the surplus, as the number of job seekers exceeds the demand for labor. Now, down here we have a graph here explaining all of what I just said. So look carefully, hope you're seeing it. So right here we're seeing the supply of labor, right? Upward sloping, and we have the demand for labor here, which is downward sloping. We have our two axes here. This is the real wage rate increasing, and here we have the employment of labor. Right here, where demand is equal to supply, right at this point, where supply of labor is equal to demand of labor, this is called what? The equilibrium. So let's call this EQ. And we are seeing above the EQ level here, we are seeing unemployment where it is demonstrating the surplus on the graph. Alright, let's look at this now, what it's saying. Now, it's saying that in the figure below, right, it says that D, so where is D? Let me put it in another color for you to see. Alright, so it says that D is the demand curve, which I showed you right here, the red line here. And S is the supply curve, which is the green line here. Now, the imposition of a minimum wage raises the cost of labor from W1, wage 1, to wage 2. We see where it's going up like this, right? At the higher wage rate, which one would be the higher wage rate? the one above here, the top, W2, wage 2, right? So at the higher wage rate, demand for labor is N3. How do we know that? Wage rate 2 come across and it hits the demand line, and you come down and we see where it hits what? N3. Then it says the supply of labor is N2. So now at the same wage 2 here, come across until it hits the supply of labor curve, right? And you come straight down and we see where it hits the N2. Now it states that the difference represents the unemployment. So the difference between the supply of labor and the demand of labor, the difference represents unemployment, as we are seeing up here above the equilibrium level. And this is also showing the surplus. We had said it earlier. Now it says that as firms are unable and or unwilling to pay workers more than their market equilibrium value. So this is what the graph here is demonstrating. Okay? Right. Now we look at the benefits of unemployment. Now, it states that the unemployed have an opportunity to do extra training or to pursue hobbies. This is only true if they have the money to pursue these activities, which is true. The unemployed also get a chance to look for a better job, especially persons who might have been stuck in one job for a long time. Right? So this is straightforward. So the unemployed have the opportunity. So when they're unemployed, during that time they have nothing they're doing. They can find extra training or pursuing hobbies that they like. Right? So we see that. Now it also states that when workers become unemployed, these are benefits. They embark on retraining program. Such training develops the workforce. So during unemployment, sometimes people use that time to go back into university, go back into college, pursue a degree, or to upgrade themselves. So when that happens now, the workforce is more developed. Those are the persons of the age willing and able to work. So they are more trained. And also unemployment reduces the cost push inflation, as there are fewer workers in jobs to demand the higher wages and so put pressure on prices. Right, so that's the cost push inflation. It reduces the cost push, those are the prices and the products. So as there are fewer workers in the job, right, so the firms would be paying less wages to these workers. So the pressure won't be that bad on the prices of the products. When we are unemployed workers, it means that the labor market is a buyer's market, right? So the buyers of labor have the upper hand as they are demanding fewer workers than there are available for work. The buyers of labor have the upper hand as they are demanding fewer workers than there are available for work. Such a situation makes workers less willing to take industrial action. Workers will be more productive and might voluntarily take on training. Now we're going to look at some demerits or disadvantages of unemployment. So the above before, these are the benefits, and now these are the demerits. So it says that the unemployed do not have the economic means to enjoy a good quality of life. This is where we look at standard of living. Unemployment therefore leads to a fall in standard of living. Right? Because when the persons are unemployed, they are not receiving an income. So how do these persons survive in society on a daily life? Are they able to buy the goods that are being produced? Can they avail the necessities? Can they afford the different stuff for them to live throughout life? So the standard of living, there's a falling standard of living here, right? Also, we look at the unemployed might be depressed and discontent, right? Now, this is adding to social problems such as crime, drug abuse, and idleness. And we can see this in society now that when persons are unemployed, they look to crime and you see a lot of robberies happening. Persons become depressed and mental illness, mental health, and all of those. When people are unemployed for a long time, it erodes the quality of human capital in the economy as they lose skills due to lack of practice. This is also evident because if you're unemployed or you were trained and you haven't gotten a job and it's way after you got a job, right? You don't remember the things that you were trained to do, right? For example, for an accountant, maybe an accountant don't remember how to use the QuickBooks and those stuff, the different softwares in accounts, right? So it erodes the quality of the human capital, which is the labor, right? It also states that unemployment means that the society is not using all resources, inefficiency, to produce the goods and services. Now, having these unemployed persons, it signals a loss in output to the society, because now society does not benefit from the output the unemployed could have produced. So this is straightforward. So it means that society is not using all its resources to produce goods and services because the resources are the labor there and we're not using all of them, right? We continue with more demerits. It also states that the local community can suffer if there is mass unemployment, which is true. For example, there will be what? Poverty, falling house prices, and hence asset values, and increased crime rates in the neighborhood, as we said earlier. Some of these might repeat, it's just in different terms. Firms lose out as they are, this is the BR, right? Firms lose out as there are lower levels of consumer spending, investment, and profits. Business failures and bankruptcies are more likely to occur during periods of high unemployment. The government may face higher expenditure on welfare benefits and health care for the unemployed. Prolonged periods of high unemployment can also lead to increase in government debts, right? We all see that. So it can increase into the government debts. Now also the taxpayers now, they stand up to lose, right? Due to the opportunity cost of unemployment. The expenditure products foregone due to increased spending on unemployment and welfare benefits. So we are paying our tax money, right? Taxation. Remember that taxation is what the cost that the government incur on us, right? So we pay taxes to the government, and for the government that's revenue. That's their income. That's what they use to build up on the things in the country. So sometimes we say that they're not fixing the roads, they're not improving the healthcare system, the education system. When there's high unemployment, we do not see where the money is being actually used. But when there's high unemployment now, the money is going towards the persons who are unemployed. For example, sometimes persons who are unemployed, they don't have anywhere to live, they don't have any money because they're not making an income. So those persons are now what? They're on the road, on the streets. And earlier we said what? There is poverty and there is a decline in the standard of living. So now all the money has to go to that now, the welfare benefits and so forth of the unemployed. So we're not pleased with how the money is being used. The economy also suffers from being less internationally competitive due to the falling levels of spending and national output. Because when we also look at unemployment, we have to look at it where, remember that when you're being employed, those persons, the laborers receive what? Income. And what happens when there is no income? It affects consumer spending, in how consumers spend and how the money is being going around in the economy. Now, this is a very important note to remember. When persons are unemployed, it means that there is less income in the economy, as I said before. There is therefore a fall in government revenue from taxation. So I had explained all of this perfectly before. Now we have measures and policies that are being put in place to reduce unemployment. Right. So the government can also do what now? Put in place retraining programs, right? Now retraining programs aid those who are occupationally immobile. Remember we said that earlier. Immobile, they are fixed. And thus frictionally unemployed. Alright? So retraining also make those who are unemployed through structural unemployment more employable. So, training will also assist those who are seasonally unemployed to find jobs during the low seasons of the year. Now, also government projects such as construction of houses, housing development, right? Schools, shopping malls, shopping centers, sport facilities, etc. in areas where there are jobs available will lure workers into the area. Because wherever the work is, people go there because they're seeking the job, they're searching for job. This will also reduce frictional unemployment for workers who are geographically immobile. So, where there are high levels of unemployment, there are simple saying that the government can put in place structures where these jobs are in places closer to where there is high unemployment. So persons who are fixed, immobile, whether geographically, etc. So instead of them going to the work is coming to them in a closer way. Right? So for example, a person who is in the rural area can't afford to go into the urban area, right? So we need to put jobs in the rural areas, etc. Depending on how the country is set up and the different location where it is, etc. and so forth. Right, everyone? Okay. We also look at job centers, right? And more advertising of available jobs will also reduce frictional and search unemployment. And we see how these interlink with each other. It increases the chances of those between jobs and those searching for better jobs to find jobs. We also look at investment in education, and this is very important. Education is the key. Investment in education means what? More trained, more skilled persons. So investment in education and training, right? Now this helps with the unemployed people to gain new skills. So they'll gain new skills. When they gain new skills now, it will be easier for them to find employment, to find a job. Now an example of retraining structural unemployed is the manufacturing workers to help them find work in the tertiary sector. Now, education and training expenditure should also help future generations to become more skilled and employable. Right? We also say that reflationary fiscal policies, so these are measures and policies that can be put in place to reduce unemployment. And we say that reflationary fiscal policy will reduce unemployment. Government spending on development projects can directly provide jobs for the unemployed. So even when they're putting these projects in place, how is it going to be done? Right? So you still need the labor, etc. This reduces seasonal, structural, and cyclical unemployment. The workers receive a wage, part of which is spent, and so aggregate demand in the economy increases. Right? Now, government grants to firms located in areas where there are unemployed persons will reduce the frictional unemployment. Now, in short, government can also spend directly on the creation of job centers and retraining programs. So, for example, the government of Trinidad and Tobago has the multi-sector skill training program MUST, MUST. On the taxes side, A fall in taxes increases consumption and investment. So when taxes are being lowered, there are increase in investment, and so increases aggregate demand. This also reduces the cyclical unemployment. And we have the last set here now. It also says that the reflationary monetary policy will also expand aggregate demand in the economy. Falling interest rates boost the spending of firms and individuals. This increases aggregate demand in the economy. Firms will expand output to meet the rising demand, and so they will employ more workers, which are the laborers, right? Now, regulations and agreements with trade unions. We had discussed something close to this earlier. Trade unions. To avoid making demands to increase the wage rate above the EQ equilibrium wage rate. And this will help to reduce the real wage unemployment. So regulations, agreements with the trade unions, right, to avoid, keywords here, avoid making demands to increase the wage rate above the equilibrium wage rate. And this will help to reduce real wage unemployment. Now, a reduction in trade union powers means that labor unions are not in such a strong bargaining position to obtain higher wages. Strong trade unions have often been able to demand annual pay rise in excess of inflation and the market equilibrium level. Hence, government intervention to reduce the influence and power of trade unions can help to reduce classical real wage unemployment. So another measure is that with the trade union, they put measures in place, regulations for them to avoid making demands in the increase wage rate, which is above the equilibrium wage rate. And this now will help to reduce the real wage unemployment. So this is all for unemployment. We looked at the types, the causes, the benefits, and the measures. Earlier we said that unemployment is any person who is actively seeking a job, right, and is willing and able to work but is unable to find a job. So unemployment, person who is seeking employment and they are willing, keywords here to get your full marks, willing and able to work but is unable to find a job. I will say that the unemployment rate is used to measure the number of persons who are unemployed, which is measured as a percentage of the labor force. So unemployment rate equals, this is the formula right here. This is the formula. The number employed over the labor force times 100. And we said that the labor force is the number of persons who are of the age and is willing and able to work. So, this is all for our video economics for CSEC, and today we looked at unemployment. I hope you like this video. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment in the comment section below. Thank you.